There's no doubt that a Jameis Winston return would be a lot of fun for the city of New Orleans, but it's very unlikely. We got all that and a little bit of lagniappe for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, your friend, Ross Jackson, New Orleans native, your New Orleans Saints expert and credentialed member of the media covering those New Orleans Saints as a Saints beat writer over at LouisianaSports.net. And on today's episode of Locked On Saints, the Saints make some moves on their roster, including a player that I would not be surprised to see come back. Spencer Rattler still deserves his shot at the starting role here in New Orleans. And a Jameis Winston return might be fun, and I promise you the city of New Orleans would love it, but it's very, very unlikely. We got all that and a little bit more for you on today's episode. We appreciate you very much, whether it's your first time or your next time, being here with us this time, making us your first listen and being an everydayer here on the show, which is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets by just winning your first $5 bet. Head over to FanDuel.com today to get started. Yes, I think pretty much everyone in the city of New Orleans would love to see a return of Jameis Winston following the departure or retirement, rather, of Derek Carr. There's been a lot of conversation around the Saints potentially bringing in a veteran quarterback to help mentor these younger quarterbacks. Saints have 4 quarterbacks on their roster now after signing Iowa State/Iowa Western undrafted free agent rookie Hunter Dekkers. They're all on rookie contracts, every single one of them. And so the idea of bringing in a veteran quarterback is not unusual in a situation like this. But one of the big names that keeps popping up is former Saints quarterback Jameis Winston. And while the New Orleans Saints have shown a bit of a, proclivity or I've forgotten this word again. Everybody just reminded me of this word. I've already forgotten it. But anyway, even though they've shown an affinity for returning veteran players to this roster, especially even those that have gone away and come back. You think about Will Clapp. You think about Isaac Adam earlier on this offseason. It doesn't feel like Jameis Winston is going to be that guy. I have 3 specific reasons for you. The number one reason, I think, is because Jameis is kind of too cool. I know that sounds really strange, but what I mean is that when you're trying to develop a young quarterback, a lot of people have kind of brought up to me well, you don't want to start Tyler Shough week 1 because what if he goes out there and he struggles and then that destroys his confidence? I don't think that going out there and struggling will destroy his confidence. Every quarterback expects to go out and struggle at the next level, at least early on. Now, they have the self-confidence to believe that they can overcome that, but everyone's going to expect growing pains when it comes to this. And Tyler Shough, again, 26-year-old rookie, all this other stuff, he's a bit more grown for this type of a situation than you might expect from most rookie quarterbacks. And so I don't worry too much about that part. But what I do think would destroy his confidence is having a city that absolutely loves his backup, and for every good reason. Jameis has embraced the city of New Orleans so much. He was all around during Super Bowl week and everything. He's such a fun dude. He's such a great personality, all those other things. He's a beloved figure in New Orleans. To have that guy behind you, knowing that fans might quickly bring their Jameis Winston jerseys back out to Saints games and stuff like that. To me, that's the idea that potentially destroys the confidence. Now, it might be completely foolish to worry about that, but I promise you that's something that organizations might take into account when it comes to the confidence of their rookie quarterback. You're going to take every measure possible to make the game and the transition as comfortable as possible for that young quarterback. So that's one of the things that I think might halt the idea of a Jameis Winston return. You might think that it's something that's completely foolish. I kind of do, but it's something that teams will pay attention to, and it's something I could easily see sort of getting in the way. You want to give your young guys the opportunity to prove that they can be the future. You don't want a veteran coming in that everyone's going to be chanting for, or that you're worried that people are going to be demanding, take snaps and all this stuff. You just kind of want to eliminate any of that distraction. So it's almost that Jameis Winston is kind of in this place of too loved to be the backup guy here in New Orleans. Also, I don't think that the Giants are going to be quick to move on from him. People are talking about the Giants quarterback room like it's completely settled and that, or that it's like overflowing and stuff like that. It's really not. Like Russell Wilson's not that good. Jameis Winston is only so good. And Jaxson Dart needs time to develop. And anybody else they have in that room is just taking up space and holding a clipboard at this point. And I don't think that the Giants are going to like what they see from Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is not peak Russell Wilson. He will not be peak Russell Wilson again. It's the same way that I feel about Aaron Rodgers. Like neither of those guys are going to be Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers anymore. They're going to be 2025 Russell Wilson, 2025 Aaron Rodgers. They're going to be post this thing, post this trade, post this injury, post this moment, latter career, twilight of the career. That's the way that these guys are going to be talked about. And I'm not convinced that the Giants are really going to like what they see from Russell Wilson. And I don't think that they're going to be in a situation where they're really looking to rush a guy like Jaxson Dart into the lineup. I don't think they're going to be in a hurry for that. And so because of that, I could easily see a world in which Jameis Winston is taking viable and important snaps for the New York Giants before the middle of the season. I said the same thing when Jameis Winston arrived in Cleveland, that by the middle of the season, Cleveland Browns fans are going to be wishing that he was the starter, and he probably will be. And that's exactly what we saw. And we got some great moments out of it, right? Jameis being so excited to play in a snow game and all this other stuff. Like, how cool was all that? But that's exactly what's going to happen in New York. Like, the Giants are not going to be okay with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's not going to lead them to the playoffs. They're not going to be ready to throw Jaxson Dart into the fire. So they're going to turn to Jameis Winston at some point during this 2025 season. I will not be shocked by that. In fact, I wholeheartedly expect it. Here's the last reason why I think that Jameis Winston's reunion in New Orleans is very unlikely. And it ties back to the idea that he's not going to leave or be out of New York at all. Because to be clear, the only way that the Saints end up signing Jameis Winston is if they sign him, right? That would mean that he gets cut at roster cuts or gets cut at some point by the New York Giants, hits the open market, and then the Saints sign him. You're not trading for a veteran quarterback. You might have traded for another young quarterback, but now you don't have to with Hunter Dekkers in the building, and they feel really good about Hunter Dekkers, and I think for good reason. But I don't think that they're in a situation to where they're going to give up draft capital, especially seeing how frugal they were with their draft capital just this past draft. 9 picks, they walk in, didn't move once, no trade ups, no trade backs, no tradesies backsies, and they made every bit of those 9 selections. That logic and the idea of trading for a veteran quarterback don't link up. So the only way you're doing it is if you cut him. Here's the thing. I don't see the Giants cutting Jameis Winston because it's not what's best for Jaxson Dart. Jaxson Dart said before, it was like a feature, like an interview that he was doing, and he was talking about how he was asked in some of these quarterback meetings, these pre-draft meetings, what quarterback, if any, that you could learn under, work with in the league, who would you choose? And he said, while everybody was saying things like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and stuff like that, that he said Jameis Winston. The New York Giants are going to keep Jameis Winston so that Jaxson Dart can work with Jameis Winston because that's the guy that Jaxson Dart wants to work with. And as we'll discuss here in just a little bit, you're going to do everything that you can. If you believe that this guy can be the future of your franchise, you're going to do everything that you can to make the transition to the league as comfortable as possible. And so I don't see Jameis Winston even so much as making it out of New York in order to make it to New Orleans. That's why I think that a return would be fun. The city would love it, but it's unlikely because I don't think that he gets out of the Big Apple anytime soon. Coming up next, the New Orleans Saints will have this quarterback battle going on. And while everyone's handing everything over to Tyler Shough, let's not forget that Spencer Rattler absolutely deserves his opportunity. We got that coming up for you next as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook, and the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and there is no better place to get in on all of that action than over at FanDuel, who's making it easy for you to get in, because you might be a first-time customer, and if you are, it's even better for you right now. New customers can come down, you put down a $5 bet. If you win that $5 bet, you get $200 in bonus bets, and FanDuel makes it easy for you to get in on the action before tip-off or live, whatever it is that you like. Tonight, the New York Knicks 3-1 lead over the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum out after that Achilles injury. So the Knicks have an opportunity to win and advance. If you think they can get it done, they're 4.5-point underdogs. Nice winnings potentially over there for that. Also, if you want to get your $5 bet in on the money line of a heavy favorite, the Minnesota Timberwolves 11-point favorites up against the Golden State Warriors. Go and check them out today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, family. The New Orleans Saints are set up for a very fun, maybe set of quarterback competitions going on in this year's room. You got a battle for the starting quarterback, and you might have a battle for the third quarterback spot as well. The battle for the starting quarterback feels like it's a two-horse race. Tyler Shough, the rookie drafted in the second round this year out of Louisville, last year's fifth-round pick out of South Carolina, Spencer Rattler. Then you kind of have this jostle for the third spot on the roster. Jake Haener, third-year quarterback, drafted just 3 years ago. And then now, undrafted free agent rookie coming out of Iowa State and Iowa Western in Hunter Dekkers, who came in and impressed big time during rookie minicamp, now gets his opportunity to compete for a roster spot. I wanted to start off at the point here is that there's three things that I'd like to do. I want to discuss the quarterback competition more in whole. We haven't really touched on it since Hunter Dekkers was added. We kind of like gave a 30,000 foot view on it, but I kind of want to get a little bit more in depth on it. The other thing that I want to take a look at is the Spencer Rattler of it all. And then I want to clarify a position on something. So let me start there. We live in a world in which uncertainty creates extremes, right? And those extremes can sometimes be harmful for the way that like opinions get recorrelated and things like that. So I wanted to clarify my position on what I think is going to happen in this quarterback situation for the New Orleans Saints and in this quarterback competition. I think Tyler Shough will be the week one starter for the New Orleans Saints. I have very little doubt about that. I would almost say that I'm certain about it, but I don't think you can fully be certain because an injury can happen, something else can get in the way, Spencer Rattler can take off, all these other things. But I absolutely think that Spencer Rattler deserves a shot at the starting role. My concern, and not even concern, my expectation is that he won't get as fair a shot as people think he's going to get. There seems to be this overwhelming consensus that because Spencer Rattler has played 6 games in the NFL, that he's the front runner for the job. That is not the case. The front runner for the job is the guy that was handpicked by the coaching staff that is currently coaching this team, and that's Tyler Shough, selected by Kellen Moore and his coaching staff. But when I say that I believe that Tyler Shough is going to be the week one starter, when I say that Tyler Shough is going to get the inside track or is the odds-on favorite or whatever, I'm not saying that because I think Spencer Rattler isn't good enough. I'm saying that because it's not a fair fight. Let me call it what it is. It's like going back to the Jameis Winston versus Taysom Hill quarterback battle back years ago. That was never a fair competition. That was always Jameis's job. And Taysom Hill had to exceed the expectation over Jameis in order to win that job. He could not be even. He couldn't be close. He couldn't be a little bit better. He would have had to have been miles better than Jameis Winston throughout training camp in the preseason in order for him to win that job. That did not happen. He did not win that job. That's the same thing that's going to happen here to Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler is not going to be able to be a little bit better than Tyler Shough in training camp. He's not going to be able to be as good as Tyler Shough in training camp in the preseason and win that job. He's going to have to be exponentially better, undeniably better. Do I think that he might be able to do that? Of course. There's always a chance that something like that absolutely happens. But my expectation very much is that Tyler Shough is going to have the inside track to the job, and it's already his job to lose. That's got nothing to do with anyone's feelings on Spencer Rattler. That's got everything to do with the reality of the situation and the business of the NFL. And so that's the way that I'm looking at this quarterback competition. But I believe that Spencer Rattler deserves his opportunity. There's some things that he's got to get right along the way. He's got to improve his catchable throw rate. He's got to make sure that he gets the ball out quicker so that he can avoid some of those sacks. Doesn't necessarily have to use the athleticism. Just has to like get more comfortable with the offensive scheme and things like that to be able to get the ball out quicker. Having an offseason to actually be able to prepare as a starter would allow you to do that. And so there's ways to show all of that improvement. I would even say that Spencer Rattler would benefit from trusting that he can use his legs more. When he and I spoke after his first 3 games as a starter early on in the season last year, one of the things that he told me was that once he gets his opportunity to kind of train over the course of the offseason, his big goal is going to be focusing on speed, focusing on his legs, the power of his lower body. Why? Because he felt that during the Tampa Bay game, he trusted himself in using his legs a little bit more, and he wanted to be able to maintain that. He wanted to be able to continue that. And so in order for him to do that, he wanted to train so that he was ready and he had the tools to be able to do that. Remember, coming out of college, going into the Senior Bowl, going into draft prep, going into the draft, going into rookie mini camps, OTAs, there's no time in the offseason. Tyler Shough's experiencing that right now. No time to just train the things that you need to train. And so that's the advantage that Spencer Rattler had over the course of this offseason. So yeah, you could say that the 6 games of him as a starter and the 7 games of NFL experience are big. There's no doubt about that. But the other big thing could simply be that he had a little bit of time to rest, unlike Tyler Shough, and he had a lot of time to focus his training on what it was that he wanted to train, working with his quarterback coach, working with others, working with other receivers, working with Teteroa McMillan before the draft, all this other stuff. Like, there's all of those opportunities that now existed, or that did exist, for Spencer Rattler, who we'll see. I don't know if he'll be at OTAs. I imagine he'll be at OTAs. He is the kind of guy that would show up for voluntary stuff and start getting the work in. That's very much his attitude. So I would not be surprised to see him at OTAs. He's been there for the kind of offseason workout plan and all that other stuff. And so we might start seeing the quarterback battle as early as May 20th, when they report for OTAs. Media are set to be out there on May 22nd. So we'll see how things go. But look, here, this is like really the way that I feel, is that I think that Spencer Rattler absolutely deserves a shot. I'm just not so sure that the shot that he's going to get is going to be the same as the shot that Tyler Shough is going to be given as well. So I think this is Tyler Shough's job to lose. We'll see if he ends up doing that. Let's take a look at the other 2 guys, Jake Haener and Hunter Dekkers. I'm not putting either of these guys in the starting quarterback competition conversation. Not really out of disrespect to either one of them. It's mostly because we kind of see who the 2 guys at that conversation is in between. So now what you're looking at from Haener and what you're looking at from Dekkers is the ability to battle with one another to win the 3rd quarterback spot. And remember, they're not just battling against one another. They're battling against the idea of the team going out and getting that veteran quarterback, right? We talked about Jameis Winston earlier. That would be a trade. I don't think that happens, but if he gets cut, then maybe there's a situation there, right? My whole premise around Jameis Winston not being a viable option is that I don't think he's going to get out of the New York Giants locker room. But if he does, then he becomes a viable option. The question then becomes, how do you negotiate the backup quarterback syndrome of the NFL, right? And so if the Saints feel like they can handle that, then they go after him. If the Saints want to get back with, Ben DiNucci, they can go back to, they could go back to a former situation there. They call up Teddy and say, hey, you're really planning on coaching high school football again, or you want an NFL check, and then try to get him back. Like, there's a lot of different ways they can go. So for those guys, Haener and Dekkers, their battle with one another to get that last quarterback roster spot is one thing, but they're also battling against the idea, which is a really challenging position to be in, right? When you're battling against potential as opposed to against what is being shown or what is proven, of going out there and getting a veteran quarterback. So it's going to be really tough for both of those guys. And so both of these quarterback battles are going to be a ton of fun to watch. And I can't wait to see how things go. But yeah, I think that Tyler Shough improves his accuracy, shows that he can command the offense, shows he can run the operation. I still think he's got the inside track. But without a doubt, I think that Spencer Rattler absolutely deserves his shot. I'm just not confident he's going to get the same shot here in New Orleans in this situation that maybe people will expect that he's going to get from a more genuine standpoint. Coming up next, the New Orleans Saints made a tough call, releasing a player that was showing a lot of potential, but his time in New Orleans might not yet be up. And the Saints got some new rookie contracts signed. We got that coming up for you next as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. The New Orleans Saints have had to make some tough roster moves over the course of the past couple of days. If they've been adding players, they've been needing to make some changes on their 90-man roster in order to keep themselves under that 90-man roster limit. But one player in particular, maybe 2, I wouldn't be surprised to see back here in New Orleans because of the potential that they have shown. Let's go with the big name here that I think is the guy to really keep an eye out on for a potential return, assuming he doesn't end up with the Chicago Bears or the Denver Broncos by the time that we're all said and done here. And that's linebacker Anthony Orji. Linebacker Anthony Orji was released on Tuesday afternoon. This was following them making the signing of quarterback Hunter Dekkers official. Remember, the Saints added Hunter Dekkers. They also added defensive back Terrell Burgess, and they added wide receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones. In order to make those roster spots, as they were already at the 90-man limit, they had to have 3 corresponding releases as well. Those 3 corresponding releases were Anthony Orji, running back Jordan Mims, as well as Millard Bradford. It's Orji and Mims for me that I would not be surprised to see come back to New Orleans. I think Millard Bradford is already on a flight to Chicago. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, to reunite with Dennis Allen. Those defensive back guys that Dennis Allen brings in and has the ability to develop and everything, it's such a good fit that I think that's what he should do. Like, I think he should be on his way to Chicago. Even if he didn't get an invite, a tryout, a visit call, just go and be in Chicago so that when they call you, you're just like, yeah, no, I'm right around the corner. Like, I'll be over there in just a second. Like, you got to do that. So I feel like that could really be the case for Millard Bradford. We'll see. That's all speculation on my part. But when it comes down to Orji and when it comes down to Mims, I could see either of these guys back on the roster. Orji was a guy that was really coming on as a big-time special teams contributor and had shown some flashes after getting some late opportunities last season as a linebacker as well on the defensive side. Being able to use that athleticism, the aggressiveness with which he plays. He has kind of this downhill nature as a solid tackler, good contact tackler as well, and has the athleticism and speed to kind of get sideline to sideline. I thought that he was showing some promise in terms of his development, and what a great personality in the locker room. Like, always cracking jokes, always fun, just fits kind of the team culture so much. I would be in the middle of like interviewing. I did an interview with Isaiah Stallbird one-on-one. And in the middle of our interview, I still have the recording, him coming in, basically leaning in to my phone where I was recording and just being like, don't believe a word that he says. Don't believe a word that Isaiah says. And just like had a lot of fun, just like joking and picking on people and stuff like that. Like, just a great personality, always smiling, always laughing. And so I wouldn't be shocked to see him back in New Orleans. Same thing for Jordan Mims. Jordan Mims kind of got the short end of the stick here, being a part of the kind of, I'm not saying older because he's not older, but like there was Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller as the drafted guys. And then there's newer faces in Jordan Mims. Like, Jordan Mims has been around the New Orleans Saints for 2 seasons now before getting back this year. And then guys like X Valaday, as well as, or Xavier Valaday, he likes X Valaday, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then now Devin Neal, and then Marcus Yarns all joined within the last year, right? Like, Xavier Valaday and Clyde Edwards-Helaire weren't even guys that were here at the beginning of the season last year. They joined partway through the season last year. So like, they've been here for less than a year. And then you have guys like Yarns and Neal, who were this coaching staff's selection and signing. And then you have draft picks. And then so a guy like Jordan Mims, who has been on and off the active roster practice squad for the last 3 seasons since being waived by the Buffalo Bills and then being signed back in 2023, he just ended up kind of being the guy that had been around the longest outside of anyone that was drafted, but that hadn't really stepped up into a larger role, but also didn't get a lot of opportunities to step up into a larger role as well. Like, the Saints were dealing with the injuries around Kendre Miller, and when there was an opportunity for Jordan Mims to finally go out there and contribute more, they signed Clyde Edwards-Helaire. When there was an opportunity for Jordan Mims to go out there and contribute more, they leaned on Taysom Hill instead. Like, there were just so many of these times where they just kind of went away from Jordan Mims when the opportunity was there for him. So either that happens on purpose, which we have to acknowledge is a possibility, or it happens because they feel like they have sort of these better options. And unfortunately, that just kind of keeps a guy buried where a guy is. And so either Kellen Moore and this New Orleans Saints coaching staff, including associate head coach and running back coach Joel Thomas, just made a tough decision here and are hoping that they'll be able to get him back, which is possible. I'll explain how in just a moment. But also could simply be that as they looked over everything, the opportunities that he did get, things didn't necessarily go well or go the direction that they want in terms of what it is that they want to do with this offense. And maybe that changed the course of the way things go. But I wouldn't be surprised if Orji, as well as Mims, get another opportunity here in New Orleans if they don't take opportunities elsewhere. Like, I could see your Anthony Orji going and reuniting with Dennis Allen over in Chicago as well. Less likely than Millard Bradford, but I could see it. And then Jordan Mims, I can see ended up, over in Denver potentially and things like that. So like there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of see all of this go. But I think it's going to depend on like what Pete Carmichael's thoughts on, Jordan Mims was, or maybe Derek Foster, who was a running back coach here last year, really liked Jordan Mims and brings him up to Dallas. Like, there will be those opportunities for these guys. But otherwise, I could see them ended up back here in New Orleans. Here's how that works. The Saints still have, on June 2nd, 2 retirements to process. Derek Carr's and, lest we forget, Ryan Ramczyk's. And so once both of those retirements process, I believe on June 2nd, then that will open up 2 roster spots. And that's where either new guys can come in or reunions with guys can begin to happen. And so that's where I could absolutely see an Anthony Orji come back in a linebacker room that still lacks a lot of experience, right? You have Demario Davis with over 100 starts. You have Pete Werner with over 40 starts. And then everybody after that at most has a start or 2. And Anthony Orji was the guy with 2. And so we'll see where things go for all of them. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them back once those other roster spots open up. So if they're still available in June, I would absolutely keep an eye out for those guys. And then finally, the Saints got 2 more of their rookie contracts done. Remember, they signed 6 of their 9 contracts. Nice. And now they've signed both of their 3rd-round picks. Safety Jonas Sanker signed a couple of days ago. And then yesterday, on Tuesday, is when Vernon Broughton signed his contract. So both of the 3rd-year guys are now signed. That's good news. Not that they wouldn't have signed, but it seems like everything got worked out there. And then now we just await the Tyler Shough contract. And that's not going to be a big deal. It's just going to be about how much of the money is guaranteed. And the 34th overall selection got a fully guaranteed contract. First time in NFL history that it's ever happened for a second-round pick. And then now you at number 40, if you're Tyler Shough, you're a quarterback, you're wanting some guarantees too. So we'll see which way things go when it comes to all that. Or really not you, your team, right? Your representatives are wanting those guarantees too. So we'll see which way things go with all of that. But we'll keep an eye out on it. But otherwise, now 8 of 9, all signed. Tyler Shough's contract is going to take time. That's okay. Not going to be an issue. Coming up in tomorrow's episode, schedule release time is here. So we'll take a look at our way too early 2025 NFL schedule prediction for the New Orleans Saints, their win-loss prediction. And we'll break down some of the key things that you need to know about their schedule: travel, cold weather games, prove-it moments, toughest stretch. And I'm going to tell you exactly where the season is going to be won or lost for the New Orleans Saints, while we discuss what winning or losing really means for New Orleans in 2025. We got all that on tomorrow's episode. We appreciate you very much, as always, making us a part of your day, part of your routine, for saying yes to me and the show. If you see me, please say hi. If you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing, how you living. Let me know how you're momming them. And trust Who Dat Nation, I'll holla at you.